Coming up on News 2, Margaritaville Resort is coming to the Virgin Islands. The world-famous musician Jimmy Buffett was in town to officially launch and show off the renderings of the 262-unit resort plan for St. Thomas. Plus, 911 call records, public or not. The AG issues his opinion after the controversial question was posed. Plus, Saturday was the day to go green for the annual St. Patrick's Day celebration. Highlights from the street party on St. Croix. Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gomansing. The VI Attorney General has sparked a controversy with a recent opinion he issued. The AG told Vitima they could deny a request from the VI Daily News to provide 911 call records to the news organization. He said although VI law allows the public access to public records of the government, there are some exceptions. News 2's Erica Parsons has more.
The VI's AG is making a call that questions the public's right to access. At issue, should the Virgin Islands Territorial Emergency Management Agency release 911 call records to the VI Daily News? The answer, no. That's according to Attorney General Vincent Fraser, who responded to a letter sent to him by Vitima Director Elton Lewis. The Daily News requested records between June and November last year. Specifically, they asked for information regarding each ambulance dispatch, including the times, nature of calls, locations, and EMT personnel names. Attorney General Fraser cited Title III of the VI Code, Section 881 of Chapter 33, which allows every citizen the right to examine public records unless such public records are confidential. If they aren't, the news media has the right to examine and publish them. He says that while you could argue that the ambulance dispatch information is public record, the information received, such as the nature of the call and the dispatch address, could lead directly or indirectly to the identity of the person being treated and what they're being treated for. Fraser also said Vitima has to determine whether or not they're the lawful custodians of the records, which include EMT personnel names. In addition, he said Vitima would have to take into effect whether giving out the personal medical information in their custody would violate HIPAA rules. The AG's response set off a firestorm from the Daily News, who asked the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press to comment. The Daily News reported that a staff attorney with the group said after reading the opinion, he found a couple of issues. Attorney Aaron Mackey questioned whether certain parts of the emergency records could be considered hospital or medical, but if so, why not just restrict that information as opposed to the entire record? He also questioned whether HIPAA would actually apply in this case. The Daily News also reported that other states do vary widely when it comes to public access for 911 records. Erica Parsons, News 2.
Calls to the Attorney General's office for comment were not returned by news time. VIPD detectives on St. Thomas are investigating a fatal shooting that occurred on Sunday, March 17th in Estate Smith Bay. The victim has been identified as 49-year-old Dave James, a native of Dominica living in Estate Anna's Retreat. Police said two other male victims were treated for gunshot wounds. One victim was grazed on his left arm and the other was grazed on his back, right arm and buttocks. Police responded to the 911 emergency call for service about 4:35 a.m. and were dispatched to the Schneider Regional Medical Center in reference to two gunshot victims. The deceased was found unresponsive on the Smith Bay Road. This case is being investigated by major crime detectives, and they're asking for anyone who knows anything about this fatal shooting to call them. The number is 642-8449, that's 642-8449, or Crime Stoppers, USVI, and that number is 1-800-222-TIPS. You can also call 911. Police on St. Thomas arrested Elvet Carty, 37 years of age, of Estate Anna's Retreat, and charged him with aggravated assault and battery domestic violence after he was identified by his wife as the person who struck her. The 37-year-old victim told police that she and her husband were with friends celebrating their wedding anniversary. After the celebration, they were driving to the beach to continue celebrating when an argument began. Then the victim was punched several times in her face and thrown out of the vehicle. Police located the suspect and placed him under arrest. Carty was held without bail according to the domestic violence law, pending his advice of rights hearing. Well, two friends who became business partners will be bringing the first ever Margaritaville timeshare resort to St. Thomas. Of course, we're talking about singer and songwriter Jimmy Buffett, who's been visiting the Virgin Islands since 1972. He and Franz Hanning of Wyndham Vacation Ownership unveiled a rendering of the new resort on Friday. News 2's Erica Bivens has the story.
It's just one of those things that it came about at the right place at the right time with the right people.
That's how Jimmy Buffett describes the making of the first ever Margaritaville timeshare resort coming to St. Thomas in 2014. On Friday at Point Pleasant Resort, Buffett, along with friend and business partner Franz Hanning, unveiled the rendering of the new resort located at the former Renaissance Hotel, which has sat dormant since 2004.
In our mind, this always was what St. Somewhere was all about. But more than anything, this will be the hottest spot in the Caribbean.
According to Wyndham, the beachfront property will undergo a $50 million renovation, with construction scheduled to begin this summer. Upon renovation, the resort will create about 125 full-time jobs and will feature 262 fully furnished condominium-style timeshare units.
And it seemed the natural thing to do to have a Margaritaville vacation resort on a beach in the Caribbean. Wasted away again in Margaritaville.
Buffett first came to St. Thomas in 1972 on a sailboat he bought with the money he made from his first album, which includes many songs about the island, including this one.
Waitress, I need 2 more boat drinks.
Buffett sang 3 songs, popping in much like he does at many of his other Margaritaville locations, the first being Key West in 1987.
Me, it's simply an extension of a lifestyle that we have been kind of lucky enough to have people appreciate as we have done concerts and as we have gone into business in other areas.
The Margaritaville brand extends worldwide, but this one is part of Wyndham's Vacation Club network and will allow owners to purchase points in the club network, which can be redeemed for visits to any Wyndham property.
France has little units to buy.
For News 2, I'm Erica Bivens.
No, Wyndham Vacation Ownership estimates they'll begin hiring next year. Those interested can apply online at wyndhamworldwide.com. Well, in honor of National Agriculture Week, several events will be ongoing throughout the territory. On Tuesday, St. John will host a farmers market at the park in Cruz Bay. Then on Sunday, March 24th, St. Thomas will host their farmers market at Yacht Haven Grand from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. St. Croix will hold their open house next week, Tuesday, March 26th, from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. at the agriculture grounds. Commissioner Lewis Peterson explains the importance of rebuilding the local ag industry.
What we do in National Ag Week supports the big industry of agriculture. What we do here in the state Bordeaux in terms of all these initiatives also support the big picture of agriculture. And together these initiatives are getting us step by step in the direction of rebuilding the local agriculture industry.
Education officials say they're continuing to search for milk suppliers for schools since the recent closure of St. Thomas Dairies. In a statement released Friday, officials said the St. Thomas Dairies supply was expected to last until mid-March, and then the department would switch to shelf-life milk. They confirmed that they will be receiving ultra-high temperature 1% white low-fat milk for the rest of the school year. The milk requirement will be put out for bid for next school year. Currently, under the new meal pattern, students are receiving juice twice a week and water, which is always available during meal times. We'll turn our attention stateside. The budget battle continues this week in Washington. The most pressing issue involves a spending resolution that will keep the government funded past the end of the month. CBS News correspondent Susan McGinnis reports from Washington.
Democratic senator says he believes the Senate will pass a continuing spending resolution this week that would prevent a government shutdown.
Let's get the CR passed. We can do it. We can do it quickly this coming week.
Lawmakers want to do it quickly, with a 2-week recess starting next week. If it's passed, the resolution would keep the government operating beyond March 27th. After that comes debate over the 2014 budget and the debt ceiling. Despite several visits from President Obama to Capitol Hill to meet with lawmakers, both sides remain far apart.
When you get down to the bottom line, the president believes that we have to have more taxes from the American people. We're not going to get very far.
What the president is saying is our focus right now should be to get people back to work, sustain the recovery, and then reduce the deficit in a measured, balanced way.
Republicans on Capitol Hill are sticking with their message, but they're considering different methods when it comes to building the party's credibility nationwide. Fresh off the Conservative Political Action Conference this weekend, the head of the Republican National Committee announced yesterday the party will dedicate $10 million to a program that will send hundreds of staffers into communities across the country to build relationships.
We have become a party that parachutes into communities 4 months before an election.
The RNC is also pushing for an earlier convention and fewer primary debates as the party tries to recover from last year's loss.
Meanwhile, keeping our eye on the economy, Chrysler is warning owners of 2013 Dodge Challengers with V6 engines not to drive them because a wiring harness can overheat and catch fire. The automaker says it's happened several times, but fortunately no one was hurt. The rare recall affects about 4,500 vehicles built in the 2 months prior to January 24th. This is the New York Stock Exchange with Scotiabank's Stock Market Watch. Everything down. The Dow 62, NASDAQ 11, S&P 8. Coming up on News 2, in recognition of VI History Month, a spotlight on the local chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen. Plus, Saturday was the day to go green in the islands for the annual St. Paddy's Day celebration. Highlights from the St. Patrick's Day parade on the Big Island. The VI Territorial Assessment of Learning Exams, or VITAL, continues this week as News2 reported on Friday a series of motivational rallies in AYP, which is the Adequate Yearly Progress. Celebrations were held to get students excited. According to the Department of Education, the VITAL is designed to measure student proficiency in core subject areas such as reading, math, and science, and is administered in the territory in accordance with federal No Child Left Behind mandates. The scores of the students in the 3rd to 8th and 11th grades are used to determine whether each school has met Adequate Yearly Progress, AYP, benchmarks for proficiency in reading and math. The territory's high schools also have to meet increasing benchmarks for graduation rates. Dinner, a live and silent auction, and celebrity ventriloquist, comedian, and musician Taylor Mason was in the house. Overall, it was a festive spring-like atmosphere at the Mark C. Marine Center. It was transformed on Saturday. Lots of surprises were in store at this year's Antilles School Spring Gala and Auction. The annual event draws many who take advantage of participating in the auction for big items like jewelry, travel packages, boat excursions, gourmet dinners, spa packages, and other services. Proceeds benefit the school. Just take a look at some of the cool items that were up for auction. A Washington, D.C. family tour package for three-night stay at the Hyatt on Capitol Hill. A signed electric guitar from the Rolling Stones. Autographed memorabilia from Eclipse Series, Breaking Dawn, and even from the popular band One Direction. In recognition of VI History Month, we'd like to spotlight the local chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen. The group is one of 55 nationwide with the goals of preserving the Tuskegee Airmen's legacy and encouraging young people to seek careers in aviation and aeronautics.
What's really great about the Tuskegee Airmen for those of us here at our chapter is that we have two local Virgin Islanders who were members of the Tuskegee experience. That's Henry Rolson, which many of you may know his name from the Henry Rolson Airport here on St. Croix, and Herbert Haywood, who was my father, and he was also a Tuskegee Airman. Haywood and Rolson both went into the cadet training at Tuskegee, Alabama in 1943. They served together. When they came out, both of them also went into the legislature. They were part of the 8th and the 9th legislature here on St. Croix. I did mention the first goal was to preserve the legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen. And the second one, which we take a lot of pride in, is to encourage the youth of our community to pursue careers in aviation and aeronautics technology.
Well, it was a happy, laughing, smiling sea of green Saturday afternoon as the 44th annual St. Patrick's Day Parade marched through downtown Christiansted. The streets were filled with revelers, many of whom were dressed for the occasion in creative and colorful fashions. There were motorcycles, dancing, special performances, and lots of music, much of it with a decidedly local flavor. Awards were presented later in the afternoon, and winners included Best Overall, Tissane's Opat, Golden Rail, Best Group, Kiki and the Flaming Gypsies. Best Theme, Irish Crucians. Best Float, the Domino Club. And Best Youth Group, the Central High Marching Band. Well, before we move on, a quick note to our viewers. There will be a change in daytime programming this week due to the 2013 NCAA Basketball Championships that will be aired right here on CBS TV2 starting at 7 p.m. Therefore, on Thursday and Friday of this week, News 2 will not be aired at its regularly scheduled times. Also, Thursday and Friday of next week, due to the tournament as well, there will be no news broadcast. We will be back on air Monday with our regular scheduled programming. Join us for all the latest news. Again, no newscast on Thursday, March 21st and Friday, March 22nd, and the following week, Thursday, March 28th and Friday, March 29th. Stick around, your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.